in April of last year, we received this image from the Fun Pimps, and it is a roadmap of the future updates of 7 Days to Die. As of last year, we can see that Q4 2024 was when the Storms Brewing update was supposed to come out. They were referring to this as the winter update. And you can see from there they had also planned another update in Q2 2025, which would have been the one to have bandits, a new main menu and a new quest type, as well as Q4 2025 having a trader overhaul and the story mode. Now, of course, they did clarify that these dates are rough estimates and subject to change, and that's kind of fair enough considering how far in advance they were really predicting here, especially for these two updates here. However, later we received an updated one. I believe this came out 9 months ago, roughly near the stable launch in July 2024, and they were still going with the same projected dates, but with new art on the icons, with notably Storms Brewing being late 2024. Now, as of making this video, we are 4 days into May of 2025, which means that we are here, pretty much approaching here, and we have still not received the winter 2024 update. In fact, now it's kind of a joke to even call this the winter update, unless they plan on releasing it for Australian winter, or they plan on releasing it at the end of 2025. And of course, not only is this 5 months late, but this one here is going to end up being extremely late if their original plan was to have it out in the next couple of months, and we're still a ways away from this update here. Now, let's fast forward a little bit further. Now, these posts have all been edited, as that is kind of the point of the front page of the dev diary, but the next projected date for this update that they came up with was April 15th. I know it says several weeks after, but this is edited after the fact. Originally, they delayed until April 15th, and then somewhere deep in these forums, you will find that they delayed to April 21st. And again, you will notice it is May the 4th for me. Happy May the 4th, everybody, to those of us who celebrate. And concerningly, the only release, quote-unquote, date we have is the experimental release for Steam as several weeks after April 15th, which is obviously really quite vague. Several could be pretty much 3 weeks onwards. And of course that doesn't really benefit console at all, who will not be getting an experimental release. I believe the experimental usually runs for about a month before the stable comes out, sometimes like 3 weeks or something like that. So whenever it actually is for us on PC, console can expect it like a month later, and it might even be longer than a month, because I'm not sure how certification on Xbox and PlayStation in particular is going to affect the timelines of experimental to stable. Obviously, console doesn't get experimental releases, so it may actually be even longer after experimental release. Now, here's the problem. Well, all of this I've said so far is a bit of a problem. Here's the thing, if you're new to 7 Days to Die updates, they're always exceedingly delayed, but the problem is we usually get weekly dev diaries on the lead up to the experimental release, where they have the streamer weekend, 2 or 3 days early access to the latest update, if you're in good standing with the company. My point is, we're on May 4th, and as far as I'm aware, there hasn't even been talk of their weekly dev streams yet. In typical amazing Fun Pimps incredible PR decision news, while their main game that has been in development for 12 years is currently 5 months behind schedule, they've made sure that we get the closed beta announcement for a 7 Days to Die Blood Moons. Incredible PR move there. That's exactly what your main player base wants to see when you're 5 months off of your update to your game, is you releasing another game which is completely just repackaged assets from the other game, but with a new game mode. And before that, we just have Fubar Prime's Darkness Falls streams. There is not a whisper of any dev streams. Now, it's possible they've just canned the dev streams. We can never know necessarily 100% what a company's going to do, but they've done them for years now, and they haven't said they are going to stop doing them. So that leads me to believe that at the bare minimum, we are still 4 weeks away from 7 Days to Die 2.0. Because, assuming we have a week advance of knowledge of the streams, and there's 3 to 4 streams, one every week, that just puts us in a position where at best we're about a month away, which would put us into June for the winter update of Q4 2024, which would put us an entire update behind according to their original roadmap. Now, obviously, these things are subject to change, of course. Things take longer than they're expected to. My main problem with all of this isn't that game development takes a long time and I'm being impatient and wanting the update now. My problem is the Fun Pimp's absolutely flawless record of being completely and utterly delusional about how long they think it's going to take to do things. They thought that from the 1.0 release, they were going to make an entire biome overhaul and weather overhaul and implement crossplay in 6 months. Here we are, almost a year later. Obviously not as easy as they thought. They also thought that after that initial 6-month update, they were going to have bandits done in 6 months. Now, here's the thing about bandits for those of you who are relatively new to the 7 Days to Die community. Bandits have been in the next update feature for about 8 years. Or something like that. Let me double check that, hang on. So I did some digging and I can't quite find the original dev posts where they said that we're going to put this in the next update, but I can tell you at the very least, because the information is much easier to find relatively recently, they were planning on having bandits as early as Alpha 21, which was 2021. So it's been at least, 3 or 4 years of the bandits are just around the corner, guys, don't worry. I also noticed something quite amusing. You go to the 7 Days to Die Wikipedia page, which I will put on dark mode. If you go to the plot section, it goes over some of the projected plot ideas, and at the very end it says, by the events of the game, the Duke has turned to banditry with a group of mutated soldiers, debated to be the bandits that are planned to be added for Q2 2035. I don't know if that's vandalism or if it's a joke, but it's probably the truth. That's probably when they're actually coming. I assume it's a typo of 2025. That's really funny. Yeah, we sit here early May. Doesn't really seem like 7 Days to Die 2.0 is all that close at all. Still seems to be at minimum a month away. So that's gonna suck. Also, there is a little bit of extra news. We now have this little section here, which will be unique storms per biome, which force players to take or build shelter. Regular rain and snow exist, but are not hazardous. And the Sledgehammer book is going to be called the Sledgehammer Saga, it looks like. I've been over all of this other stuff before. I will link that video at the end of this one if you want to go over all this other stuff that's in here. But in the meantime, I'm just going over the new stuff that I've noticed. The Navezgane makeover, which is long overdue. I suspect they won't give it what it really needs, which is a complete overhaul to the terrain to bring it into the 21st century, because the Navezgane terrain can be really rough in a lot of places and it just makes it really ugly. But yeah, the updated biomes essentially are going to be on it, and of course they are changing the biome boundaries and the trader POI positions to improve the travel time and flow between towns, which is actually a good change because compared to random gen worlds, the Navezgane traders are like a kilometer away from their appropriate towns, and it leads to very slow progression comparatively, and it does lead to a lot of new players being kind of confused why they can't progress as fast as the rest of us, because we're just using random gen worlds where a trader is in every town. And of course, the cross-play on dedicated servers. Consoles will be officially able to play on dedicated servers, contingent on passing certification on each platform, fingers crossed. And this is the news as of April 12th. Also, they revealed this at some point. I made a post about it where I laughed at it, basically. This is the new Frost Claw zombie that's going to be added to the snow biome. I don't know much more about it other than that. This is it. Frost Claw zombie bracket snow, and this is the image. And if you've not seen the Plague Spitter here, I'll scroll past this really quickly. We went over that in the last video, but I know that was calling to some people who probably wanted to see it. So yeah, that's a quick update on the incredible amount of delays that 7 Days to Die 2.0 is having, and my guess as to when it's probably actually going to come out, and they'll be wrong. I'll probably be too optimistic by saying about a month from now. Hopefully you learned some interesting stuff about this seemingly infinitely delayed update, and maybe you can set your expectations in the future for whatever the Fun Pimps say they're going to do for a roadmap, because there is simply no chance that Quarter 2 2025 is going to have bandits. I think you're probably deluded if you think that Quarter 4 2025 is going to have bandits. If you ask me, in my experience of far too many 7 Days to Die updates and the seeming relative ease of what's in each of these, I would expect a year between every update. So if we say this one comes out in June 2025 eventually, I would expect this one to be like June 2026 and this one to be June 2027. I don't know why it takes so long. I really don't see them suddenly, being able to do their every 6 months plan with no changes. It seems like it's the same devs on the forums talking about the same issues, and it's the same, we're going to get another update out in 6 months, and then it gets delayed 6 months, and then a couple of extra weeks. Every single time. It's been happening at least since I joined the game, or rejoined the game, I should say, in Alpha 19, although I did play way back in Alpha 15 as well, but I went away for a little bit. So yeah, this roadmap is bullshit. Don't believe their other roadmap, and remember that while they are currently not producing this update 5 months behind schedule, they are trying to sell you another game that uses all of 7 Days to Die's assets and involves a gimmicked game mode. So that's always fun to remember. That's definitely what the backers from the original Kickstarter are absolutely looking for, is just a whole other game they have to buy before this one's done. That's great. Anyway, thank you so much for watching this video. I'll link the other video I made where I went over all the changes so you can get a more full view of what's coming apparently in 2.0, and I will see you in the next video.